Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm your co-host, Kevin, K-Daddy from the Dirty South, the ATL, Hotlanta, Georgia. I'm a post-production master, filmmaker, and horror nerd.
And I'm your co-host, John Thomas, ghost hunter, super smartass, and film lover extraordinaire.
Hey guys, this is your co-host Ashley, Gorilla Girl filmmaker, lunar goddess, and cinephile. In today's podcast, we're going to be talking about film remakes. Genius or just a pale version of their original counterpart? Stay tuned and find out.
Cinematic, captivating, terrifying, and intense. Trap 2021 will return live May 21st through the 23rd. New categories, new prizes, and still no entry fee. Visit trapfilmfestival.com for more information.
And we're back. Today's remakes that we'll be talking about are Evil Dead, It, and Halloween. So let's get started with Evil Dead, guys. Who's seen the original?
Oh, you know I have. I am obsessed. Give me Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell any day.
I saw it. I didn't see it when it was first out. Obviously, I was too young. I think I recently watched it, and of course, it was good. It was cheesy as hell, but it was good.
You know, it's one of those films I think that is a cult classic, but you had to have seen it when you were younger or around when it first came out, because watching it now, like as an adult with fresh eyes, having never seen it, I think it would not hold true to the, like, you know, time. I don't think it will hold up to the time. But the remake, I believe, who was that actress? It was Jane Levy that was lead in the remake of Evil Dead. That was an interesting remake because I feel like the original was a little bit campy, so it adds maybe unintentional humor. And then the new one, it's just like, holy moly, where did that come from?
Sam Raimi, when he was originally making The Evil Dead, he had this envision for this like terrifying horror film that's similar to what the remake was. And because they were fresh out of film school, it was one of the Rosebud Productions' first films. They really didn't have much money, and so it took over a year to shoot whenever they could get money, which is funny enough why when you watch it and the blood doesn't match, per shots per scene, is because they were shot months later and they couldn't remember exactly how much blood was used, and they didn't have enough budget for the same amount of blood, and they were recognized for the campiness that came out of that, which is why Evil Dead 2 and then Army of Darkness became more comedy. They just followed the campiness and the funniness that was unintentional of the first one. But in an interview with Sam Raimi for the remake and why he produced it, it was the film that he wanted as when he originally made the first Evil Dead. That's how he envisioned it. That's the level of horror that he wanted. And it was just more or less, the remake was a dream come true while still giving nod and homages to the campiness that was the original.
So that's interesting because I didn't know that piece. That's actually pretty cool to find out. That's interesting because I'm not even sure that I would classify that as, I mean, yes, it's a remake, more so a second chance. Like, here's my second chance, my redo with my budget, so I can make the film I always intended to make. And I like that. That's actually neat because the remake was horrifying. Like, that was terrifying. I was legit scared, and not scared to go to sleep, but in the moments I felt tense. I remember sitting on my couch watching it, and at that point my couch was open behind, like, to the the rooms behind, so I'm like slouching down into the couch as the movie continues on a little more and a little more. just because it was
Right,
tense. It was an
right.
intense movie.
Yes, and Jane Levy, she did a great job. I thought she was
Absolutely.
fantastic. And it's funny to see her now because she's doing more comedy. She was actually in a TV show recently, which
Oh,
is
yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
musical. I love that show. It's great. But no, to see her back in the horror is just holy crap. Like she can scare the shit out of you, literally.
I think that it is interesting because I've seen her do the comedy show, the dry comedy shows, and the upbeat comedy, and she always delivers, even if the surrounding world around her is super upbeat and full of musical. Like in that one show, what is it? Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. Mhm.
Extraordinary
She
playlist. Yeah.
still delivers that dry, deadpan comedy, and I love it because that transitions her so well when she's doing horror. She's able to deliver that dark comedy, that dark humor, and the drama. And I feel like she is. I'm glad she was put into a show that's doing well, like The Playlist, because I feel like her career before that, some of the shows she was in didn't, go past season one, which is unfortunate because her talent is just amazing. With that being said, would you say, which is kind of interesting because you're comparing his original, this is what we could do with the bare bones budget over a year, and this is what I can do with the dream budget on a tighter scheduling production to keep continuity time frame. Would you say you prefer the original campy or the remake, his dream film of horror?
Honestly, I would take the remake. Give me the blood, give me the guts, give me all of that. So much better than the campiness. I kind of get lost when there's too much of the campiness. I mean, I do enjoy it, but if I want to get scared, I don't want to be laughing for something that's not really supposed to be too funny.
I'm torn on that because I have such an affinity for the original Evil Dead and what it was, and just the innocence that was behind it, because it wasn't intended to be funny. And I think that's why I like it so much. And stemming from like an independent filmmaker background, like I just seeing what they were able to do with such a low budget is like so inspiring. But then with the remake, to your point earlier, Ashley, like it's not really a remake. It's more of a reimagining. It's more of like it's like a take two of what they wanted.
Second chance.
It's so hard to compare the two because I love them both for vastly different reasons.
Yes, from a filmmaker perspective, there is something lovely about how they put in their passion and their effort, and they stumbled into a happy accident of a cult following because they intended to scare, and then it came out campy, and people were like, I love this, and they're eating it up. But from my perspective, because how we watch horror movies or any genre, it's so subjective what we're expecting from it, what we take away from it. So for me, when I watch horror films, I want that intensity. I want that scare from a cathartic standpoint, but also from a storyline standpoint. Now, that's not to say campy isn't fun. I enjoy campy. But if his original intention was to scare, and then his second chance was, okay, let's make the movie I always wanted to make, he succeeded. Like Evil Dead Remake succeeded. He scared me. And I would prefer that if I was doing just movie to movie comparison. The intention is to scare. Well, the first one was a campy happy accident, and it's fun. I would never not want that to exist. That movie should always exist. But I would prefer the remake
Or
for horror.
for horror.
But yes,
Yeah.
the original has a happy place in my heart. Okay, so let's take another oldie but goodie. Let's talk about it, because that's had multiple reimaginings. That's had, or remakes. It's had its original, but then it's had its, like, there's been so many offshoots of it. And then you see like the mini series, or I guess if you want to call it that, with Chip Curry. But then we have the remake that was separated into two pieces, two chapters. So where do you stand?
Well, going through like what was it, middle school basically, I read the It book. When the miniseries or whatever you want to call it came out, it scared the shit out of me. I would not go buy the drains at all without freaking out, especially at night. I mean, Tim Curry is such a great actor, and he did such a good job as Pennywise that he still freaks me
We
out.
all float down here, John.
Yes, we do.
Okay. I was allowed to watch horror movies as a child, and that's probably not a good idea. But nonetheless, I watched it as a young child, and I was terrified to take showers because the drain is behind you. And so I would not close my eyes in the shower. How many times I got soap in my eyes because I would peek over my shoulder just to make sure nothing was coming out of the drain to grab me while my eyes were closed. So that was a very effective, scary movie.
And Tim Curry. Oh my God.
A man with many talented hats.
Yes. Oh, absolutely love him.
Now, what about it? Chapter 1, Chapter 2.
I'm more partial to chapter 1 versus chapter 2, but comparing that to the miniseries from '93, I feel like it does more justice to the story. Like I'm definitely not condemning Tim Curry's performance by any means. Like I think he is Pennywise, but Bill Skarsgård did such an amazing damn job. Like I love the quirkiness that he brought to it.
All right, so I gotta say it. I gotta save a piece because John's laughing at me. I'm like losing it over here. All right, here's the thing. We're not only talking about remakes, we're also talking about movies coming from books, which should definitely be a podcast at some point. But I do believe that the newest versions, chapter 1, chapter 2, absolutely stay closer to the storylines. However, if we're comparing Pennywise's, I believe that the remake relied heavily on CGI to do the scaring versus presence. Right. Do I think that the new Pennywise in and of itself was scary? He was not menacing to me. The CGI effects of him contorting, and they relied on, the eye effects and the visual effects to make his eyes look a little, more menacing and creepy. And they relied on the CGI effects to do the contortion and the things. But he didn't scare me as just a character. But Tim Curry, they didn't have those benefits back then in the same way. So they needed somebody who could just come in and scare the bejesus out of you with just makeup on. And I think he delivered much harder. So when it comes to Pennywise, I think that Tim Curry takes it all day, every day. I wasn't it. If we're talking about a movie overall, I think that the new ones are a better imagination of it. They're a better execution of it because you get more of the storyline, so it scares you more. The kids, oh my gosh, those kids were phenomenal actors. I feel like that was sold more, so I would still lean towards the new it as, a favorite, but I think that the kids and the CGI carried Pennywise in the new one.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. Those kids, they were fantastic. They were great. I remember going and watching it with my daughter, and she's like, do kids actually cuss this much? I was like, yes, I was a teenage boy. That's exactly what we do. And the effects, like we were saying, like with the eyes and stuff, I actually liked that just because that's something that they couldn't really do back in the 90s without contacts or without whatever. And so I was just like the little details that I kind of paid attention to. I was like, oh, wow, that's actually kind of cool. But you're right. Tim Curry will always be Pennywise no matter what.
The scary things to me, and this is, again, every person's going to have a different takeaway from movies of what spoke and resonated to them. So for me, the more horrifying story was between the daughter and, the father, and that and the oh my goodness, what was the character's name? The little boy with the medication. That storyline was terrifying too. Like, yes, in when they're in the garage and the scene with the
like the projector thing.
Yeah, the projector. And that they're terrified. Yeah. Like, their acting, him coming out of the screen was not nearly as terrifying as their reactions. Yeah. And so I would say that the kids and the writing made this movie. I do maybe I'm desensitized to CGI. Although it's cool that they can do that, it doesn't scare me. Practical effects still scare me more because it looks more realistic. And I think that's why I favor Tim Curry's Pennywise over the CGI Pennywise, because no matter how amazing an actor you are, once you're overlaid with all of that CGI, it just doesn't look real anymore. It looks cartoonish. And so then it doesn't scare me because I'm like, ew, I'm watching a cartoon. But now that's not to say I don't appreciate modern advances in technology. Can we talk about the beautiful cinematography of chapter 1? Like that final scene where he's in, spoiler alert, he's in, oh my God, and put that in spoiler alert, when they are all in the tunnels and they're all taking a swing at him. Like that pan around. I was happy dancing in my seat at the theater. I had to go see that in the theater twice because it was just such a beautiful film. It was so well made. So I don't want to sound like I'm poo-pooing on technology or advances. Like, oh my goodness, that was a beautiful film.
No, I hands down, full-heartedly agree.
Chapter 2 was chapter 2. I mean,
James McAvoy did a fantastic job.
A lot of the adult actors did.
When you put James McAvoy and Bill Hader in a film, like when do they not deliver?
Yes.
All right, so let's move on to Halloween. We've got John Carpenter and we have Rob Zombie. So, holy cow, 2 powerhouses. Obviously, one is a master of horror, but I do feel Zombies created his own little subgenre within horror as well. So
I feel like it's similar to what we were talking about with Evil Dead, where it's like, I feel like there's like a level of reimagining it. I feel like my heart always has to go with the classic, but Zombie, I love Zombie as a filmmaker.
I have like such a love for Rob Zombie as a filmmaker. I'm going to say it. I'll be controversial. I like his Michael Myers better than the original Michael Myers. I will always be a fan of the classic because Michael Myers is that is an icon in horror. So you never turn your back on the original and the icon. But Zombie gave Michael Myers layers.
Agreed.
He gave him a storyline.
Definitely.
He made Michael Myers an anti-hero almost because you sympathized with him in his storyline. You see his upbringing, you see what he went through. I'm not saying you condone his murdering. Well, some might, but you don't necessarily condone the murdering, but you understand him and you sympathize with him. And that is, to me, that's good writing and that's filmmaking. And so I don't know, I have a soft spot. I have a soft spot for the new Halloween, the Rob Zombie Halloween.
No, I agree. I mean, sometimes he's over the top, but sometimes that over the top is great and it works well. And like you said, going in and getting the layers for Michael Myers, just learning why he is the way that he is. It's, I don't know. I felt better kind of rooting for him in a way, but yeah, I don't know. Jamie Lee Curtis, though.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get rid of Jamie. But I mean, without the original, you wouldn't have this concept of scoring. You have your originals, and I'm going to take it a little broader, even though we're talking about remakes, but you have, Freddy Krueger has his own theme song. Michael Myers with his identifiable jingle, if you will, and then Jason has his and so those themes were made possible because of these films. And how many, you have other iconic people that have come about since then, or horror icons, but how many of them have their own recognizable jingle? and it didn't come across cheesy. That's just what it was. And even now, if you hear that tune, people are like, "Ooh, Michael Myers is coming." But so I will say that there were so many things that movie contributed to the genre as a whole. But Rob Zombie is definitely, I think he did a great job on that remake. So let's talk about international films being made into American remakes. Did you do your homework and watch the films?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, first one, Ringu and the Ring.
I don't know. I don't know if I like either of them, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know. Honestly, okay, so the original, it was good. Like, the Japanese are good at scaring the crap out of you, for sure. They definitely know how. I don't know. I didn't find either of them that great. Good concept, just not great delivery.
I think Asian films, like for the horror genre, are always going to do a better job at scaring me with their storylines better than us taking their
Right.
storyline and remaking it and thinking like that we could
Right.
do it better. But with that said, not a lot of people back then, especially in the time of the Ring 2002, were watching international horror films. It wasn't easily as accessible. So it was an innovative concept to us as Americans. Most people didn't even realize that it, was being taken from an already existing storyline. And that in and of itself was great. From a storytelling perspective, we were able to have something introduced into our mainstream that wasn't there before. That storyline was awesome. And I mean, creepy little girl crawling out of a TV after 7 days. What? Like, wow. And it scared a lot of people. So I would say that the remake was terrifying. It accomplished what it wanted to in terms of scaring mainstream audiences. Was it better than the original? Well, I don't think so.
See, my thing is most of these are PG-13, so they can go to a wider audience, and I understand that, but I don't know. A PG-13 horror movie doesn't always freak me out.
I just feel like Asian cinema are stronger on their stories. I feel like American cinema is, how can we get people scared? How can we get them in their seats? And how can we get like the best movie date night? Where with Asian cinema, I feel like it's story driven. That I feel like it's so much more powerful than like quiet, boom, big jump scare.
Yeah. In America, it seems like, and this is not all films, but it seems like our mainstream media went, especially around that time, more into jump scares. Jump scares became a thing. But after a while, we all become desensitized to jump scares. So then, to John's point, it's like, okay, well, there's only so much of that, and then I get bored. And I feel like with the cinema that I watched from, international movies, whether it be from Mexico, which has a great horror, market, and other countries, like they rely on building that tension and building that scare. And yes, there are some jump scares, but it seems like there's more of that tension that's built versus just like la 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 tra jump, tra la la jump, and it's just before we become desensitized to jump. And so I'm with you. I feel like their storylines tend to be more of a build, and they stay consistently building that fear. So by the end, you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm sick to my stomach. I've just been tense this entire time. Now, how did you feel about The Grudge?
I mean, I have a soft spot for the 2004 Grudge, just because I remember seeing it in the theater. I remember being so freaked out because I was 13 or 14 when that movie came out. I just have this fond memory of that being one of the first horror movies that I saw in theaters. But God, the international I feel like you can feel the originality more than in the remakes.
Yeah, 2004 Grudge. Okay. I'm trying to think of how to nicely say this. I think Buffy will always play Buffy.
Yep.
And so she does a great job of playing Buffy.
Hey, she did good as Daphne and Scooby-Doo. Come on now.
Who was still kind of like Buffy.
Still Buffy, yeah. Okay.
And with that said, I was not fond of 2004 Grudge. I think the effects were cool. I thought the lighting and color tone were cool. Like it was a well-made technical film, but it fell flat for me on the storyline. The original international version, I think was much scarier. The pacing was much more on point. So I do think in that aspect, that one just all the way goes to the 2002 version. I'm sorry, Buffy. I love you, Buffy, but no,
No, I agree. I mean, it was, I don't know, a little too much of the "I know what you did last summer" stuff kind of with her, which again I loved, but it's kind of cheesy now. But we're not even talking about that one. So 2002 Grudge definitely gets my vote. Scared the shit out of me. Not gonna lie.
Here's the beautiful thing about horror films. Horror can be done on a lower budget depending on your variables because you don't need an expensive lead. You just need a good actor. Now, unfortunately, in our 2000s, it was treated in the same way that action films are treated and dramas are treated. So they kept wanting to cast well-known names, but like comedy, horror, you have to have a certain knack for landing the tension and landing the scare and landing the moments of relief. When it comes to some of our leads in some of the remakes, Buffy, we it's the same character and intensity throughout the entire thing. So there's no moment of relief. You have to have a range, even if it's a little range, moments of relief, moments of tension, moments of relief, moments of tension. So if that tension stays there the entire time, like I Know What You Did Last Summer or Buffy, like I'm always on a mission, that just doesn't land for me. That's just me.
I feel like horror is one of those genres that the less recognizable your actors are, the more it's going to sell. Because like you're trying to build such a supernatural world, and I feel like with all the other genres, as a viewer, you're able to disassociate and like disconnect yourself from, okay, that's Buffy. Okay, now it's Daphne.
That's Buffy. That probably wasn't the best casting choice just from that disconnect. Like you take an actor
Right.
who's played for over a decade the same, in a supernatural world butt kicker to this, and it's like, well, why is it Buffy kicking its butt? What's going on?
Can you just stake it through the heart already? Appreciate it.
Right?
We're
Like, hurry
done.
up.
She needs to handle it.
Right? If you go with an unknown, then you're actually going for the story. You're not going for the actor or actress that's playing the part. So you're more opt, I think, to actually enjoy and get into the world better than you would be like, oh, again, there you go. There's Buffy. Hey, why aren't you doing something about it? Sorry, I love you, Sarah Michelle Gellar, but still.
Love Buffy.
Yeah.
Now, what about Shudder?
Oh,
Shudder. I actually enjoyed the American version. I mean, they were close. They were more similar to storyline than the other ones were, which is really weird. But I actually enjoyed the American version as more, I think, than the other one.
so John is wrong.
Kevin.
No, you're allowed to believe that, man.
You're allowed to believe that. Oh.
I don't know. It was basically the same movie, which is not exactly a bad thing.
I mean, if you're taking a storyline and remaking it, you might as well try and stay true to what made it successful. And we're taking to begin with.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it would be inspired by and not a remake.
Yep.
Right. Yes.
I like Joshua Jackson as an actor. I think he is very talented and oftentimes underrated, which is a shame. I think he delivered well in the remake. However, the original counterpart, I think, still scared me more.
I feel like the 2006 one just was so much stronger, and I feel like there was more thought put into like the art direction. Like in the 2006 Shudder, when Nat was spoiler alert, when she was cutting herself, and after she found out that that her boyfriend was a total POS and just awful human being. She was in his darkroom when she was cutting herself. And I feel like that imagery of watching her blood drip into the developing solutions, it's like she knew that his love and passion for photography would always be there regardless if she was or not. And by her almost like doing this to herself in his freaking dark room, it's like, bitch, I'm going to be here with you forever. Like, I am now a part of that. Like,
even if, she wasn't submitting herself, like mirroring her trauma to his, binding herself into his art and his passion, if nothing else, she's ruining it for him. She's tainting it with that like gruesome scene of creating that trauma. Like, oh yeah, this is your sacred place, your place of comfort, your place of creativity and expression. And now I'm going to do this in here. And it creates like a shock, a trauma. And that's powerful. It's extremely powerful. It's like someone coming to your work and doing that, in your space of work. And it's traumatic and shocking and attention getting. I think that, to your point, the storyline's there more and the subtleties are there more, but I think that they're there more because it is their original story. When it's your story and it's coming from you as a director, a screenwriter, a cinematographer, you know that story better than anybody else. So you can put those nuances and those nuances in and those subtleties in and create that. That's where that artistic layer, that artistic essence like starts to really build.
it's an intimate like relationship between artist and art.
Yeah. And so you're able to layer those subtleties in. When someone comes in and takes that on and says, I'm going to do it too, those subtleties and nuances aren't always present. Like it's a lot harder to do that, to take that on as your story and then bring those layers in, because you're taking it at what you saw. So it's like, oh yeah, that's scary. Let me redo that and try that too. And so you're taking the very superficial, most in your face layers that scared and bringing them over into your artwork. John, you've been quiet. What are you thinking? Let's start with you. Movies you'd like to see remade and done better.
It's not exactly horror, but The Craft, and they are remaking it, unfortunately. But I can't really say unfortunately yet because we haven't seen anything. But it's one of my favorites. I would love to see it done and done right. So hopefully that's what they're doing with
But
this
would you
one.
rather they had left it alone, or do you just want to see a really good remake?
I mean, I don't know. It just depends. Sometimes I feel like they should leave it alone. Sometimes I don't.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Now, come on. Who hasn't done that when they
On
were
your
younger?
next podcast, we're going to be attempting it. I hope you boys can lift me.
Easy peasy.
You got it.
You give me wings. What about you, Kevin? Any movies you'd like to see remade and done better?
There's one that I would love to see because I would love to see what they were able to do with it with today's technology. But I'm terrified that if they did it, it would destroy it. The Exorcist.
No.
I agree with you, but I don't at the same time. I'm with both of you guys. But
No.
Can I want to add my little asterisk to that?
No.
Because I don't want to see a remake in the sense of like, reimagining Reagan and Pazuzu and whatnot.
I still can't watch that by myself, by the way.
I am bludgeoning you in my mind right now. I can't believe you had the audacity to say that.
There is some controversy in there.
I mean, I think it would be cool, but again, it would rely too much on jump scares and CGI, and that would not be.
And that is why I do not want it.
No, you cannot have Reagan without Linda Blair. You cannot replace the priest without the original actors, because they just, like, that cast worked so well with each other and their personalities and subtle, like, just no, that would not, any missing element, any replace of it just wouldn't be The Exorcist. And the screams, like, her screams were genuine screams. Her back was being fractured in that harness as they were lifting her and dropping her on the bed. Those were authentic screams. You're not going to get that nowadays with safety on set. You wouldn't want to. Like, don't break a child's back. But, let's be real, those screams were authentic and painful screams. And it just, even with I feel like the CGI would ruin it because they had to rely on the acting. They had to rely on the practical effects. And let's not forget the subliminal images of Pazuzu, the subliminal, really quick inserts. Like, those were just, that movie to me is perfection. Don't.
Oh, God, yeah.
So next week, it might be 2Haunted.
And next week on 2Haunted. No, I mean, I get what you're saying. It would be nice to, there's a part of me that is intrigued. What could the finesse of updated cinematography and coloring do? What could the finesse of what we're able to do? But I feel like people are too heavy-handed to be able to treat that.
Yes.
That was good.
I think that if I had to pick one film to be remade, I think he said, "Uh-oh." Oh, we didn't even touch on Poltergeist. That's one we should definitely.
Yes. Oh my God.
Let's take a happy trek back for just a moment. Yay, nay, Poltergeist, the remake.
Remake? No.
Nay.
Sorry.
I thought it was okay. If you've never seen the original, funny story. I was at the gym watching it on a treadmill, and the little, spoiler alert, kid got dragged, up the stairs and into the closet. And right during that scene, someone walked by and they looked at my phone, looked away, and then looked back again really fast, and their eyes were super wide, just staring at my screen. And I just thumbs up. So, horror film, if you're gonna watch scary movies while you're working out at the gym, depending on the reaction you're going for, maybe pick the one that's facing away from the aisles, because people, like this person, almost tripped over themselves. So I was like, man, you should see some of the other films I watch. But
Right.
But yeah, okay. So let's do a fire round really quick. Why not? Yay or nay? I'll say the remake, you say yay or nay. So that's a nay on Poltergeist. Amityville Horror.
Nay.
Yay.
What was that, Kevin?
Nay.
Nay. Nay for Kevin, yay for John. Really?
Yeah.
I would say it was a yay, but not better than the original.
Right.
Let's see, what else do we have out there? So what?
Oh wait, you're asking like the ones that have already been remade, not
yeah. Not do you? How do you feel? The fire round.
Yay, but okay. Sorry, I was thinking of it in a different mindset. Like if they would remake it again.
Nope. How you feel about the remake? Yay or nay? Did it land? And did you think it was better? So
yay, not better than the original.
Yay, not better than the original. You, John?
Yay, not better than the original for sure.
What about what was the one I was just thinking of? Child's Play.
Nay.
I actually didn't watch the remake.
You're not missing anything.
I wanted to, and I want to still, just because of Mark Hamill. But
that's why I watched it.
Friday the 13th.
Nay.
I'm in between.
I think that the original had Jason versus it being the mom. So I still think it deviated too far from the original storyline to necessarily be a remake. Technically, it's considered a remake. So I'm going to say yay, it landed. But nay, it wasn't better than the original. House on Haunted Hill.
Oh my God.
I enjoyed the remake. I totally forgot about that one, actually. But
we're talking about the 1960s Vincent Price original House on Haunted Hill. Oh my God. Have you guys seen that though?
Yes.
That was amazing. For the time.
I like the remake better.
Oh yeah.
Present time. Yes, it was an
Yes.
amazing film, but I still like the remake
Yes.
better. I think it was scary.
Oh yeah.
Right. I went and watched the remake in theaters and was scared crapless, basically. Like, holy crap. Like, first movie in a long time that has actually scared the crap out of me besides The
That
Exorcist.
was actually my first R-rated movie as a kid. 13 Ghosts.
I'm gonna go with the new one.
Yeah, new one scared the crap out of me as well.
Same reason, like same reasons as House on Haunted Hill.
It was just more
Yes.
effective as a scary
Yep.
movie.
Fun.
And Matthew Lillard,
Yes.
okay? Underrated
Very
actor. Thank you
underrated.
very much. I
That's
love the dude.
Fright Night. Is that even a
Original.
question, Kevin? Really?
I mean, David Tennant
David
is
Tennant's
great,
great,
but come
but-
on.
The original.
The original,
I'm sorry,
sorry.
but there is no Jerry
Yeah.
Dandridge more than Chris Sarandon. Like, nope.
Agree.
Right.
Oh yeah, that man can eat an apple. There is no other entendre. That was just.
I'm sorry, that is not what the word I thought was going to be said, and I apologize.
He eats the apple like a vampire, like you would imagine a vampire would.
Yes.
It was just like it was amazing
Exactly.
the way he was able to deliver these subtle things that you're like, I didn't know that a vampire would bite into a piece of fruit like that, but that makes sense that they would because that's exactly how a vampire would do that if a vampire ate fruit.
Exactly.
Tangent.
So I don't know about you guys, but during the month of October, I like to watch basically scary movies. I have a few favorites that I like to watch. You definitely have to watch Halloween because hello, Halloween. I do like to watch the Scream movies as well. They're my favorites, even though 4 wasn't the greatest, but still, gotta love them all. Go Ghostface. Definitely watch Nightmare on Elm Street. Another one of my favorites. One that's not so scary, depending on who you are, I guess, is Rocky Horror Picture Show. You have to watch Rocky Horror. I love Rocky Horror.
That's a favorite of Kevin.
Hell yeah.
And those are my favorites. So, Kevin, how about you?
Oh man, for Halloween. God.
Yeah, what are some of your Halloween go-tos? So maybe something you have to watch every year.
All right, so I have 2 musts.
Gotcha.
One is a childhood favorite of mine, Hocus Pocus. I have to watch
There you
Hocus
go.
Pocus. Love it. I even have a Hocus Pocus throw blanket that I always use throughout the year. And the second, and I either start October with this movie or I finish October with this movie, The Exorcist.
Hell yeah. Ashley, how about you?
All right. My Halloween favorites. I always. Okay, who am I kidding? I watch this every month. I always have to watch The Lost Boys.
Woo!
Yes.
Because, 80s vampires. Fright Night.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
nobody eats fruit like
Which
Jerry Dandridge.
Oh,
The
yeah.
original Fright Night.
Yes.
Fright Night. And then, of course, I have to stick with my tried and true with Halloween. You can't not watch Michael Myers. And it's not always the first one. Maybe it's Blasphemy. Maybe it's not. But I had a soft spot for the ones with Danielle Harris. I'm also a fan that Freddy Krueger is my man. So I have to watch one of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, at least one of them. So typically, I'm a big fan of Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Ooh,
Yes.
That's a really good one I like to throw in there too. So it depends on my mood too, because sometimes I really want some good haunting movies. But those are some of the ones that I like to make sure get in there.
Do you guys have any like indie, lesser known horror films that you like to try and squeeze in?
I don't have an indie, but I have like a B movie called Big Ass Spider. It's actually pretty funny. It's great. I watched it on Sci-Fi, I think, a couple years ago or whatever. Funny as hell, but yeah, it was decent cheese.
Blood. Yeah, Blood. And that is a vampire one, super, super underground vampire film. But I love the concept. It feels like an erotic Evanescence video with fangs.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, right. And so and it's not meant. It's not a porn, but it definitely carries a lot of like the eroticism of the dark side and vampirism, but it also doesn't necessarily glamorize it. You still get like the crazy gore, terrifying aspect of it.
Yeah.
Love that movie.
Hell yeah.
Very cool.
What about you, Kevin?
I love Afterlife. I don't know if you've seen that. It's Christina Ricci, Liam Neeson, and Justin Long. It's an indie film that is absolutely amazing. And it takes you on such a mind trip.
Speaking of Christina Ricci, I do like during Halloween time to watch Cursed. I know not a lot of people have probably seen that, but I do like Cursed, and that's got her, Joshua Jackson, and I forget the guy's name. Who's the guy from? Is it Jesse? He was the really odd Lex Luthor.
Oh, Jesse Eisenberg?
Yes, that guy.
Yeah.
Sorry. And it's got that. So them, and I think it's good. I dig it.
Well, I think we definitely had some good suggestions there, guys. Hopefully we'll see some better remakes, maybe, than some of the other ones that we've discussed tonight. Who knows what the future holds?
Keep an eye out on our social media where we'll put up a list of our favorite Halloween movies, but also give us a shout out. Do you have any recommendations? We're all ears.
Thanks for tuning in to 3Haunted Podcast with your host, John.
I'm Kevin.
And Ashley.
Have any questions or suggestions?
Email us at 3hauntedpodcast@gmail.com. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media.